You're welcome to Panoramic's briefing today. It's on rethinking income management before the next contract locks in. It's going to be through the lens of LGR, but really applicable to anyone who's experiencing long supplier lock-in contracts. So today, the team from the finance division of Panoramic Associates have worked with Tailwind Digital to come up with this briefing. There's our QR codes there for our LinkedIn's if you wanted to scan it, but essentially Tara and Cameron look after the senior appointments for the finance, service within local government, and then I look after anything to do with digital and systems within that area as well. And so just a brief overview of who Panoramic are and what we do. We're a senior level talent solution specialist. So we cover anything from health and social care, education, the environment, corporate services, all across the UK. And we specialize in contract and interim and permanent appointments. And more recently have expanded our offering to do things like statement of works and executive search and our consulting services as well. So if you want to find out any more information, just the website's at the bottom of the slide, and we'll send the slides around after as well. And why we do these briefings is we speak to a lot of people every day who have so much knowledge to share, but maybe that's within one specific council. They might have been there for 25 years and picked up loads of information. We like to do it online because it's more accessible as well. So there's lots and lots of really good events for people to go to, which I know the team at Tailwind go to quite regularly. But it's also nice to be able to have smaller briefings that people can attend on their lunch breaks to find out more about the industry. So if there's any other topics that you wanted to talk about or learn about, then just pop us a message as well, and we can see what we can arrange. And then just some housekeeping. It is being recorded, and we will share the recording with you after the briefing. Feel free to keep your cameras on if you want to, because this won't be shown in the final recording that we do send out. Just make sure you mute your microphone though, just to avoid any interference when the team are speaking. And there's a Q&A at the end of the session. If you have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat throughout the session. I think I'll hand over to the team at Tailwind now to talk to us about rethinking income management.
Thank you very much, Caitlin, and welcome. So delighted people can join us today, and we're very delighted and grateful to Panoramic colleagues for setting up this event and giving us the opportunity to collaborate with them on a topic that we hope is of interest to them, to you, and certainly it is to the whole of the local government market. So my name is John Rabin. I'm the sales lead at Tailwind Digital. Joined the organisation back in September. I've spent probably about 12 years in the local government, social housing, central government and wider public sector arena, working in payments, income management and other software solutions. So I spent quite a few years, probably about 8 years all in, at Allpay as head of sales, where we were providing payment solutions across about half of the local authorities in the UK for cash payments at Post Office and PayPoint, the whole suite of payment services into about 500 social housing organisations, and direct debit and other payments for people like Ministry of Justice, the NHS, Scottish Government, and so on. Spent a few years then at Civica. So I was, for 2.5 years, I was sales director of Civica's payments and income management business. So absolutely, got into the detail of payments, income management and local government challenges in that space, which is very pertinent today. And subsequently led a team selling a whole range of local government and wider public sector software solutions. So great to be with you today, and I'll hand over to Tom.
Hi everyone, I'm Tom Stiles, Chief Technology Officer at Tailwind Digital. My background is from local government. I spent 16 years at Nottinghamshire County Council leading the team that developed all the technology behind the call centre and the website. Started Tailwind Digital in 2021, and we have a lot of customers across the country, but our focus for the last 2 years has been very much on the local government income management system. I'll pass over to Seb.
Hi everyone, really great to be here today. My name's Seb Dadbin. I'm Chief Delivery Officer here at Tailwind Digital, focusing on project delivery and ops. I also have a local government background where I saw firsthand the impact of the next contract locking things in and preventing innovation in the sector. So really passionate about doing things differently in and around payments, income management, but also more widely with open source software across the sector.
Colin can't be with us today, but given that he's an ex-colleague from Civico, which is where I met Colin and came to lean very much on his expertise and specialism. So Colin is the product director for Tailwind Digital, been here for probably about 18 months. The impact he's made feels like longer than that, and really helping shape a best-in-class payments and income management solution around local gov IMS and providing his expertise into the sector. So this is our agenda for today. We've done the welcomes and introductions, but we're going to start off talking about local government reorganisation. I think potentially some people have come along who are lucky enough not to be impacted by LGR, or given that it is presented as an opportunity, maybe unlucky. And some of you might already have gone through this process. But it's the most significant thing that's happened in local government for decades, and it's certainly across England, which is where it's happening. It's kind of the number one topic with organisations I speak to who are affected by it. We'll then talk about enterprise open source software, what that means, what the model is, how it's different, and then that follows into giving you a bit of insight into what local gov IMS is itself. Then we'll feed that into how it specifically applies to councils impacted by LGR. As Caitlin said, we've got the opportunity for questions at the end, but please pop them into the chat before you forget them, and we'll mop up as many of those as we can at the end. And there'll be some other opportunity for you to share your thoughts and feedback. So we live and breathe payments and income management, and we go around talking about an IMS, and there's nothing worse than jargon. So what actually is it? So an income management system sits at the heart of your payments ecosystem. So it enables your citizens, your customers, your local businesses to make payments into the council in a way that suits them, whether that's online, over the phone, on a mobile phone, etc., etc. And the income management part of that is then really the back end, because uniquely local authorities get unknown payments. People who just make faster payments. They get lots of payments coming in from multiple sources, from debt collectors to post office and PayPoint, to things like their museums, theatres, etc. So what an income management system does is allocate those payments to the right place, enable you to understand exactly what they are, post them to the right citizen account, post them to the right line of business, revs and bends, rent, etc., and update your finance system. So gives you control over all of that flow of money coming into your organisation, getting it to the right place and visible to the right people internally and externally. So how well does it do it? These snapshots of some real live council websites give you an idea of the challenges that citizens often face. And what you're now seeing pop up at the bottom are from conversations I've had over the years with local authorities in their finance and back office teams about the challenges they have. And these are literally true. We've probably got people on the call today who have never sent a fax and may not even know what a fax is. So we spoke to 2 councils in the course of a week with different suppliers who'd both put the system in the very, very early 2000s. And then they wonder why it doesn't really work as a state-of-the-art solution, either for citizens or for the back office. And bottom right, what's the most widely used bit of software in finance teams? Guess what? It's Excel. So very expensive software, but really people having to do their day job in Excel and with workarounds. So for a load of councils, that's what they have today. So what's going to happen when they vest into one single unitary comprising of 3, 4, 5, I've seen it in the past, 8 legacy councils? Clearly, it's going to get a lot worse. You're going to have multiple systems from multiple vendors. even where you've got the same system. I work closely with North Yorkshire Council when they vested, and they were relieved that they had 5 out of 8 of their systems were with Civica, so they thought that would give them some consistency. But lo and behold, it didn't. Some were in the cloud, some were on-prem, they were all configured differently, they all had different integrations, they fed into different finance systems, they fed into different CRMs. So the customer experience was coming in through maybe Granicus or maybe Netcall or maybe IG4 or maybe something else. So suddenly all of those problems multiplied, and both for the citizen suffering a worse payment journey in many cases, and for the back office teams suddenly having so much more complexity to handle. So to build on that, I will now pass over to Seb.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks very much, John. I'll just share my screen. So the real risk with LGR is that you end up, as John said, with that very messy picture there with fragmented payments and fragmented income management. So you've got citizens, making payments in a way that's confusing and fragmented, and then you've also got a really difficult, hard to reconcile approach for marrying together and harmonizing your income post LGR between between the former authorities and the new unitary. So I'm going to show you a little example illustrative of that. So this is what a payment journey could look like on day one in a scenario where there hasn't been time or emphasis placed on what the payment journey looks like for customers paying for services in their new council. So let's assume we've got a new authority here called Fakeville Council, which is a new unitary council for former boroughs of Fakeville, Casterbridge, and Muddlethorpe. And we've got 3 councils becoming 1. Services are being brought together, but some things still work differently depending on where you live. So let's assume that I'm a new customer and I'm a citizen and I want to pay my council tax. If you're assuming I've just moved to the area, the first thing is that I probably need to go and check by postcode what the old boundary map is, because I just know that I've moved to this area. I might not know what former borough council I belong to based on my postcode, so I might have to go and look that up. Is the first thing. But even if you do know where you belong to, I then have to go into this journey where I say, right, I used to live in the Fakeville district. I have to go in and enter my council tax number, select the amount to payment, and proceed to payment. You get a completely different experience if you're in a different former borough. So for this Casterbridge example, you go through the old user journey that existed in the old world, where you've got to sign in to pay, you've got to enter, and it's a completely different user experience depending on where you live. So not only is that confusing for residents, but also in the back office, you can imagine that it creates admin, extra effort, unnecessary workarounds required to sort of harmonize and move together that data. The alternative is with LocalGov IMS, you can enable one front door from your new council initiation date on the 1st of April 2027, 3 councils becoming 1, bringing those services together. So let's say now I want to go and pay my council tax. This is now a live link into a real demo instance of LocalGov IMS, taking you into the payment portal for council tax payment. So I'm going to enter my council tax reference number here and just pay a demo amount of £5. And as you can see, that's now in my basket as well. I can also choose a different payment type. I can also perhaps add a housing rents payment in there. I'm not going to do that in this case, but I can add multiple payments depending on if I want to pay for things simultaneously. In this instance, I just want to go ahead and pay my council tax. I pop in my address. Then my card. Bear with me while I get the test cards. So these are based on hosted fields hosted by DNA Payments, which is our gateway partner in this instance. PCI DSS level 1. The card numbers never touch council systems, and they never touch our systems as well. That's all fully secure. Can confirm that payment. We're getting a 3DS check. Once that's sent off, get that payment's all gone through successfully there, and I get a reference there. Now, a key thing with local gov IMS from an LGR perspective is that you might have two councils with different acquiring contracts. You might have one with a Lloyd's contract, one with a WorldPay contract for acquiring. Under this scenario, rather than having to send customers down different routes, you could have a unified payments portal, but you could have different acquirers in the back end that would process the payment depending on the type of payment and which fund it would belong in based upon the kind of old authority setup. So rather than having to send users down a different journey path, you can have that one harmonized experience. I'm going to show you that just now and how that might look. So for example, you could have one service using GovUK Pay, and you could have one service using the DNA Payments hosted field solution that I've just demoed there. I'm just going to go ahead and demo what it might look like from a GovUK Pay perspective if I'm wanting to wire that in. So I'm just going to go ahead and pass in my council tax reference. Once again, add that to basket. And you can see now it's pushing me through to the gov.uk Pay checkout experience, which has got, you've got Google Pay built in there. In this case, I'm just going to pay with credit card. Just pull up the test numbers. And you can confirm that's all gone through. So you've got a completely unified, really nice, modern, slick customer experience on your go live date for the new authority, and one that can be altered based on legacy acquiring contracts. There's full flexibility there in terms of the payment gateway and the acquirer to meet the needs of the new unitary authority. So you don't have to sacrifice best-in-class customer experience at your new authority just because you've got kind of a messy picture of acquiring contracts. You can go live with local gov IMS from day one and have a kind of unified customer experience with really nice, slick online payment journeys.
If you just complete that payment, so then are you able to show the fact that both of those payments have gone into our transactions table as well?
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to demo, absolutely. So yeah, we can then show in terms of managing that income then, we've got both of those payments that were taken. So we've got the first council tax payment that we put through via the gateway. And then we've got the second payment that was posted through gov.uk Pay, and we can see because gov.uk Pay sells net of fees, we can also see there's an amount there. So that allows for easy reconciliation in the back office that we've got the fee then posting on there from gov.uk Pay. So all those transactions appearing live in real time to make it really easy for staff to be able to manage any of the income coming into that new authority from vesting day.
Great. Give you a round of applause, Seb. That was quite a complex thing to try and pull off, so well done.
Thank you. I will hand over to you then, Tom, to take us through a little bit of the history around the current market provision.
Yes. So obviously, are you able to drive the slides for us, Seb?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So obviously, the current market provision it is quite poor, and it was quite poor back in the day as well. So there are maybe 4 contenders in the market, 5 now. Most of them have got proprietary software, so you don't control the software at all. Next one. Most of the software is very old. As John said, a lot of these companies have been acquired a number of times. The software hasn't really changed. So even if they wanted to be fleet of foot and innovative, it's very difficult for them to be so because they're built on top of a lot of old and technical debt, and lack of new features is a big problem. And they're very, very good at vendor lock-in. So we've spoken to a number of councils who've been wanting to get a price for renewal, 2 years out, so they can assess what the market is, and the vendors are just refusing to give them a price. So they're not even approaching the potential point where they need to get a new system with any information about what their existing system is going to cost them to renew. They wait until it's too late for them to renew, and therefore you end up locked in for another sort of 3 or 5 year contract. 1 and 2 year contracts are very, very rare. The fees are very high. You're paying a lot for software which hasn't changed in very many years. You pay a lot for upgrades. The upgrades can be very, very hard work and very expensive as well. Very difficult to integrate because they don't have very many APIs. And the last one is as John was saying earlier, lots of workarounds, lots of spreadsheets because of the lack of flexibility and that lack of responsiveness for the software to change based on your requirements. So we need to say thank you to Barnsley Council, because back in 2018, Barnsley were in this exact situation. The situation that exists now existed back in 2018, where there was all of these problems. They had a very good tech team, and they had a very good business analyst team, and they decided they were just going to write their own income management system, which they did. That went live in 2018, and then with the help of the local digital fund, they had a discovery, alpha, and beta phase, which totaled about £500,000 worth of investment into the product. And essentially, they de-Barnsleyfied it. So they took a piece of software which was built the way Barnsley needed it to work and made it configurable and made it modular, so it now works the way any council needs it to work. We picked that software up and improved it and made it even better and filled in some of the missing gaps as well. So LocalGov IMS it is an open source product. We don't own the code. It's not Tailwind Digital's product. It's the community's product, and anybody can access that code and use it. But we offer a hosted and managed service, and the reason for that, if you go to the next slide, Seb. So this is the LocalGov IMS website. If you want to find out about the software, the councils that have been involved, then you can go to that. So that tells you a little bit about the product and how it works and what it does. Then the big difference about it being open source is that we've got a whole range of income management features which are extensible, and we can improve them as we go. Next one, Seb. Our decisions about what we build and how we develop are very much driven by the community. So we have regular meetings where we influence the roadmap and look at what's coming up. We have lots of open, flexible payments and integrations. Seb's just demonstrated there that one income management system can link with 2 different payment mechanisms, and that's not the end of it. We have others that are there as well. We guarantee that everyone gets product enhancements. So regardless of how they're funded, regardless of how they're developed, that code is pushed out so everybody gets the benefits of those. And even if one council decides we want to build this and we're going to fund it, we're going to fund that development, everybody else gets the benefits of that. That's the open source difference. The other key thing is the intellectual property of that software is not for sale. I'm not saying that Tailwind Digital it will never be for sale. We've got no intentions of doing that. But if they were to buy our business, they would not be buying the software. So they can't hold you over a barrel in the same way as a lot of other businesses that get acquired can do. We're 100% committed to keeping the software open source and making sure that we do everything right. So that's our last one, Seb. That's our open source commitment. But the open source on its own is wonderful, but there are real barriers to people adopting it. And when we came along 2 years ago to look at what were the barriers to people adopting this software, we found that the software on its own is not enough. People need a service, they need support, they need hosting, they need somebody to call if it goes wrong, or they need some help, they need documentation, they need setup and consultancy to get all that working. So we've added the as a service bit, so now you have software as a service, but with that commitment for open source. So you get the expertise, configuration, hosting, training, migration from your old system, open documentation, and a help desk to call if anything goes wrong. And we're really investing a lot of time and energy into building the community and building links between councils who are involved with the software, partly because it's the right thing to do, partly because that's the way we're going to drive the improvements in the product and make it better for everybody. I think that's the end of my section. So I'm going to hand back over to Seb or John. John's still on mute, John.
There we go. Yeah. Didn't want to risk background noise interfering with your piece. And Seb's tightrope walk of live systems, which are always fun. But so you've had a flavour of the challenges that organisations have with their payments and income management systems. Seb the stuff that he's shown you is actually a copy of things that are out there. So people are going through those journeys, and those screenshots I showed you, like, sorry, you can't make any payments at the moment. But all of that stuff is real.
John, you just need to share your screen again. Sorry.
Right. There we go. Thank you. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah. It was still minimized, strangely. Right. So you've seen a little bit of the system in action. So the big question is, what are you doing now about LGR? Because there are some people out there saying, well, it's a couple of years away. And understandably, there are lots and lots and lots of priorities and lots of things to worry about. As I said, I think when I was, we started talking about this when I was at Civic a couple of years ago, and people's attention was even further away. And I said, well, remember, people have got no idea what the structure is going to be like. They've got no idea what their job is going to be. They've got no idea what the culture is going to be. They've got no idea how this is going to pan out. And if you rewind a couple of years, people are still thinking, oh, it probably won't happen because it's just all too difficult. Well, hey, it's happening and it's coming quicker than you think. And Soccerton put out a great paper the other day saying you need to start looking at contracts now. So I'm talking to a council who are working through, and they're likely to be the lead, depending on how the dice fall for their region in ICT. And they go, so we understand what our payments and income management landscape looks like. And now we've just discovered, exactly as Seb alluded to, we've got 4 or 5 different acquiring contracts, all with different durations. So how on earth can we consolidate those? Because you can't just scrap a contract midstream. So all of these things you need to look at contractually, process-wise, and really think about. So the big question is, what are you doing now? Or scarily, what are you not doing now? Because the risk isn't doing nothing. The risk is just leaving it too late. GDS Local wrote a great piece when they launched last November about one of their objectives being, apart from improving citizen journeys and citizen experiences and the delivery of services, to improve the way and support the way that local government procure software and systems, because and they refer to phrases that we wouldn't have been bold enough to use about legacy systems, lock-in contracts being locked into ball and chain contracts, and paying far too much for software that just doesn't do the job. And if you kick that can down the road, just watch out. It's very likely to become a ball and chain. And what are the implications of that? It means that that Fakeville environment that Seb showed you could be the world for your citizens for years to come. And people in the back office are working with multiple systems to try and allocate the income that does come in. So take an honest look at your world today and go, at the end-to-end processes you've got. And there was a great question in the chat about you need to ensure that you haven't got duplicate council tax references. Absolutely, you're going to have to do that at some point, whether it's biting the bullet for payments, or biting the bullet for revs and bends, or biting the bullet for your finance system. So all this stuff's got to happen. So other processes you've got, the customer experiences you've got, the customer journeys you've got, the back office processes you've got in finance, in line of business, and customer services around payments and income management. Are they really the ones that you would want for a future, for your future organization? Is that what you'd wish for if you had that magic wand? Is the actual software and the system the one you'd want? And you may love it after 20 years or 25 years, but is it the one you want for the next 20 years? And how well can it cope with LGR? How flexible is it to integrate, to rebrand, to restructure, to change the integrations? How cost effective is it going to be to do all of that stuff? One of the very early council amalgamations that, even before I joined Civica, but they ended up paying Civica for something like over 200 consultancy days to help them merge multiple councils just in their payments and income management infrastructure. So, what does your future look like? And is it going to be built around the income management system you've got today and a hodgepodge of the ones that your neighbours have got? Or might just local gov IMS be a better option as your day one income management system? As I said, the risk is not doing it too soon. The risk is doing nothing, leaving it too late, and then burning priorities, ball and chain, and guess what? You've got no option to do anything. So no harm in reaching out. We can talk about what some of the councils are doing. We can help. We can share your pain. Come and talk to us. You've got my email address at the bottom. You've got a QR code that takes to our website, and you'll have our details when the deck comes out. So that's my view, but it's probably worth sharing with you the view of a council who are in that LGR journey themselves. And they actually said we might have done this sooner, but LGR was kind of a worry. But they have taken the view, and this is their chief operating officer, Rob Dobson. So as he says at the top, they're delighted to be adopting local gov IMS, and it is all the stuff that their legacy systems, the sort of legacy systems we've talked about, are not. So it's modern and it's flexible. Why are they doing it? Local gov IMS will make payment journeys simpler and more effective. They want to deliver better citizen service, which is absolutely what we're all here for. But it'll also support back office efficiencies and make their back office teams, finance and operational teams, better. And we're in the process of an iterative phased implementation. So rather than suddenly, whoa, the contract's about to end, big bang, need to switch it all over, they're phasing it gradually so they can learn, so they're de-risking it, and they can redesign their processes and their journeys while they're at it, rather than go, let's take this horrendous process we've got in our current IMS and stick it into a new IMS. So they're digitizing and they're driving efficiency. But the big thing is they're doing this with a view to the new unitary. So they're saying we recognise that local gov IMS can support the new unitary council when it arrives, rather than sitting on their hands waiting for vesting day and say, so how many have got this one, how many have got this one, and what do we think we'll do? They're taking that lead. So come and talk to us, come and learn off other councils like Burnley, and come and just see how you can make life better in the new unitary for your citizens, for yourselves, and for everybody working across the organisation to deliver those services. Right, I'll now hand back to Seb.
Thanks
and
very
this is
much.
where it's your turn to do stuff as well.
Thanks very much, Sean. Yes, and I can see there's already some questions in the chat there as well. But I'll just share my screen and we can get into Q&A. So if you go to menti.com, and I'll just pop up a wee QR code as well. So if you scan that QR code or go to menti.com and enter the code 57359758, that'll let you into the Q&A space. We should be able to see your questions pop up in real time.
While people are joining, Seb, I'll just answer that. There's the last question there about Microsoft 365. So we're fully integrated with Entra ID. So the user experience for people using local gov IMS is completely passwordless, but very secure and integrated with all of your normal two-factor authentication. And it has a really thorough API layer, which whether it's a Power BI or Power Apps can lean into that API layer to write your own reports, your own integrations. Some of the councils we're working with are writing all of their own integrations that use the API layer as their main source. We can also help you do that. We also have quite a lot of really quite powerful reporting built into the platform already, so that there's actually a lot of places where people have previously used a report or some sort of integration to get the data. They don't need to do that anymore. They can use the tools within the platform itself. I'll hand back to Seb.
Thanks very much. Okay, so firstly, to kick us off, I'm assuming that we've got a range of different regions, folks joining from different areas of the country involved today. Myself, I'm up in Scotland, obviously not impacted by LGR, but it'd be good to get an understanding of where you are and if you are in a region which is going to be impacted by LGR. Just move the pin on the map. One joining from London. Give everyone another minute.
So interesting to see someone from the Southwest. We'll also be at LGR Camp Southwest next week. John will be there. So if you are down there, we might see you there.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. And then, yeah, I know we've got some other comments in the chat, but really now it's just a chance for you to add any other questions and feel free. I don't know if, Caitlin, that people can speak as well, but obviously feel free to shout up as well if you do have questions, or fire them in here.
I'll see what I can do. I'm not very good at the tech side. I believe I can just unmute people. I think everyone's able to speak if they want to.
So there was a really good question about when product enhancements are offered, what support do authorities get regarding training and adoption? So one of the things we've done as part of making our hosted and managed service is we built out a really thorough help and support page. And this includes videos and video walkthroughs of different features. So you get the written text, you get screenshots, but you also get video walkthroughs. And anything that we release that's significant, like a significant new feature, obviously that will be added to the help pages, and we'll also do a video walkthrough. We're moving at quite a fast pace, so there are a lot of new features being released all the time. So that is something that we know we need to stay on top of. Yeah, that's something that we're kind of hoping to do through the online portals first, and making sure that those video walkthroughs are available to everyone so they can see how something works.
There's a question here around what would you say to non-technical stakeholders about the value of open source versus the main providers? Tom, do you want to take this one?
I do. I love this question. Thank you very much, whoever's asked this question. It's my one of my favorite things. So I think we've seen across a lot of government that there are challenges for delivering public services where you don't own the infrastructure that you depend on. So the water industry has been a great example of this. We don't own the pipes. So it's very difficult to fix a problem if you don't control it. The railways have gone through the same sort of thing, or they're now coming back into public ownership because we recognise that's a better way. There's really good examples like local gov Drupal, where the benefits of collaboratively developing solutions which to common problems in a way that nobody owns it, no one can profit from it directly. It's community led, it's community owned, and it becomes part of our national infrastructure that we can all say, you know, look, this belongs to us, and everybody can use it, and no one can kind of take that away and profiteer from it. So the license around local gov IMS and the other open source projects which are being worked on in the public sector at the moment is very restrictive about what we can do. We have to keep that code and the other code that we build on top of it open to anybody who wants it, and that means that you can never fall victim to to this sort of lock-in. If we were to suddenly up our prices and double them, you could take the code, you could take the data, and you could go and ask somebody else to host it for you. But I think fundamentally, we think public money should equal public code. And there was a big movement a couple of years ago around the local digital plan. That's the wrong word. Where they were talking about fixing the plumbing, and it was a very laudable aim that we wanted to kind of make sure that all of our systems connected together. The big challenge is you can't really fix the plumbing if you don't own the pipes and you don't control where the data flows. The big advantage about this is Tailwind Digital do not own local gov IMS. We are the current leading support partner for it, but there will be an ecosystem of support partners, just like there is an ecosystem of support partners for local gov Drupal, and a community of councils and suppliers working together to build something which helps everybody nationally. And I think it's a great solution to solve a whole plethora of problems that the public sector is currently locked into point solutions where they've been taken over by big money, and all that the game plan is to kind of up the costs, lower the service, and just make as much money as you can from the public sector. Open source is the antidote to that. Sorry, I got on the soapbox there, Seb. Apologies.
Oh, that was a great answer.
If I can be allowed a soapbox moment as well, because I saw there was a question there about direct debits. So somebody, for those who haven't seen it, said, you might be about to talk about this, but how would this be affected by direct debits? I have all my payments in this format, and I do not make direct debit, and I do make direct payments. It's a really good question. We show lots about card payments. And wonderfully, people kind of ignore direct debits. Direct debit is the best method of payment. When I was at AllPay, we did about 50 million of them. They were great. They're cheap for the recipient. They're reliable. You're not waiting for somebody to think, hey, I'm going to go online or pick up the phone or walk down to a post office, especially if it's hot like today or rainy as it so often is in the UK. But I cannot pay. I pay my council tax by direct debit. You cannot pay all of your payments to a council by direct debit because I can't set up a direct debit to pay for my garden waste collection every year on top of my council tax and. So that has to be paid on a card when it comes round, and it's not a particularly great process in my council. Legacy software and all this stuff, they don't remember my login, even though I've got an account with them to grumble when the bins aren't collected. If I need the council to come and deal with a vermin problem, the wasp nest removal, I can't pay by direct debit. If I want to submit planning permission, I can't pay by direct debit. If I'm using their registrar service to book a function, I can't use their direct debit service. So I've got some data in front of me from a large council, and they do a lot of direct debits. But their whole bank file, so this is direct debit, standing order, the people who go online and make a faster payment, and that's actually where an income management system really earns its crust, when you've got a payment that just comes in, it's Mr. Smith, and the reference is council tax. So if you look at the whole remit of payments, 24% of them come in through the bank. So there'll be direct debit and other bank payments. That doesn't sound a bad number, but I'll talk about my old world of Allpay. 26% of their payments come in as cash payments at post office and PayPoint. So this is still hundreds of thousands of transactions where people are collecting benefit in the council, in the post office, and paying it over the counter, or when they get cash from their window cleaning round, etc., they're going to PayPoint and paying that bill. So 24% direct debit, 24% bank, 26% are still cash, 45% are card payments. Now, where this is really valuable, if you have a direct debit set up with the correct reference, it should all get reconciled seamlessly, and that's what income management does. When that comes into the bank file, it'll go, right, I know that reference is Mr. Smith's council tax, so again it goes against his account, so you're not chasing his arrears. You know that it's a council tax payment, so it'll go into your revs and bends system, it'll get correctly coded into your general ledger. The wonderful bit then that the income management system does is, if Mr. Smith has just made a faster payment and he's just put his name or his address or something in the reference, or he's posted you in a check, and you've got that payment in suspense. So, what Local Gov IMS does is give you a smart suspense tool to manage that. So, sure, you've got to go off and do the legwork to identify that payment. But what you can then set up, if you remember my slide early on, a council saying, hey, we've got 1,000 rules and 40% of them don't work, you can create a rule so that next time a payment comes in, this sort code, this account number, this payee name, this amount, it gets posted to council tax, and that goes there automatically. So direct debits are great. The majority of them get driven, and Local Gov IMS may encompass that in the future. The majority of them get driven out of line of business systems. So council tax systems, housing rent systems, and that's why it's less critical here. But Local Gov IMS, and indeed any IMS, has to process those when they come in.
So yeah, all those direct debit payments will come through the income management system anyway, when they land in the bank. Just the Local Gov IMS isn't involved in setting them up in the first place, because it just doesn't need to be. I think that's all the questions we've had so far. Anyone else got any other questions? Any of our panoramic colleagues got anything they're curious about?
My one was the first one on the app.
Oh, excellent.
I find it when you're speaking to people who are quite technical every day, then when you speak to someone who's very non-technical and just wants something to work and to be not very complicated, it's interesting to hear how it's pitched.
Yes, excellent. Suspense management is the most manual area for us. Yes, I think it's for a lot of councils as well. So our suspense tool, as Seb is showing here, we've got the ability to generate these import rules, and you can set them up as part of when you're transferring the funds out of suspense and into the correct place. You can also set up a rule that says, next time this payment that looks like this comes in, automatically take it out of suspense and put it into the right place with the right coding. So that type of payment would never drop into suspense ever again. Now, the management of those rules then becomes a challenge in its own right, because if you've got hundreds of them or thousands of them, you need to know which ones are still being hit, which ones are no longer there. And if a payment happens to end up in the wrong place and you're not sure why, you might think, well, did a rule affect that? Did we have a rule that's kind of been triggered accidentally? We tag any transactions that have been used, or they've been moved via a rule. We tag it with the rule ID, so that we can see exactly why a transaction ended up where it is. So we've got a whole bunch of tools around creating these rules, managing these rules, trimming and archiving these rules away so that it makes it easier to manage suspense. Ultimately, at the core of suspense is a human going and finding out where a transaction belongs. But we try to make that as easy as possible and build tools around it to make it as straightforward as we can. We've also got some work that we're doing around trying to accelerate that with AI. Never doing the transfer out of suspense, but maybe doing the research that says, well, we've got this address. We know that these are the other people that might be at this address. These might be the likely council tax recipients that you want to look at. That work we can do with AI ahead of a human getting involved and making that final decision. There's a question in the chat. So when we talk about LGR, what we're referring to is local government reorganisation. That's not a product. That's just the fact that so many councils are moving together, and during local government reorganisation, a lot of systems are going to have to be moved together. I guess the closest competitor to local gov IMS, which is our product, would be something like Civica Pay or Access Pay 360, which was formerly Capita Pay 360. There's also Adelante or Haycentric. Those are the key competitors in the IMS space. And local gov IMS is the only open source community-led alternative in that IMS space, which we think makes it a great choice for councils going through local government reorganisation and those that aren't.
And I think just to build that, and I saw from the question you missed the beginning, so we may have touched on this or not. And so I spent several years at Civica, and one of my frustrations was, we were using software that was very old. I'm talking to a council, and their head of IT, he said, well, when I was a programmer in the 80s, working on Radius Icon, which became Civica Icon, which became Civica Payments, Civica Pay, it's all the same software under the surface. And Tom talked about the lack of investment, because Civica have got 35% of the market, 40% of the market. Access Pace would have got 50% of the market. People stay with it for 20, 25 years, as I talked about. And it's expensive to innovate. But what that then means is, when you want to build a new payment journey, it's expensive. When you want to integrate something like Stopford registrars, it's expensive, it's difficult, it's unreliable. And it does lead to the things that I showed in that early slide of, sorry, we can't accept payments. Sorry, your payments failed. I've seen sorry, your payments failed, but we did actually take it. And so you do it again, and you end up with duplicate payments. So apart from the fact it's open source, the development, the shape, the design of it is led by local government for local government. It is also modern, flexible software, much quicker to deploy, much quicker to make changes, much easier to enable you to drive digital transformation and better citizen services.
There's a question pops up about any proposals for integration with social care. Yes, we're open to all proposals for integration with any systems. The nice thing about local gov IMS is it's got a really powerful API layer. So if you can imagine a way of using the data within the income management to improve social care or debt collection or something like that, or just make it easier for people who, when you're sending out a bill for somebody with social care, make it as easy as possible for them to pay so they don't get into debt. Absolutely, we can do that, whether that's generating a QR code for that invoice or making it so that somebody that's got a social care payment, that they've got a really simple, easy way to pay, whether that's over the phone or online or whatever. I think the best way of staying out of debt is to make it straightforward for people to pay. And that's what local gov IMS does. One more person typing. Kaylin, how's the timekeeping going? Are we doing okay?
It's bang on. Got 4 minutes left, really. But I think if we want to start wrapping it up and let people know where to find you. And I just want to say briefly, thank you everyone for coming. And thank you to you guys for sharing everything. It was really interesting to see how it actually works. I think a lot of the times on my side of the world only hear about these things and actually get to see it in action. So really, really interesting. Thank you.
I'm
Pleasure.
just going to pop a link into our website if you want to find out more, and you can book a discovery call with us through there as well if you do want to find out more about local gov IMS and how we could support you, LGR or otherwise.
And Seb, John, and I are all on LinkedIn. We post periodically, not too much, about the work we're doing in income around local gov IMS. We also host bi-monthly show and share sessions, which are the community, the core of our community sessions. So if you're just IMS curious and not want to sort of commit to a full phone call, let us know. We'll add you to that mailing list, and then you can come along to one of those sessions and just find out a little bit more.